Alrighty, welcome everyone. I'm Teeaboo and I am here on Wednesday morning for the 25th and final installment in our journey through Rising of the Shield Hero. It's been interesting. Up and down, kind of all around. Pretty fun overall. Last episode was really enjoyable. I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. And so if we can finish on that kind of a high note, that would be really awesome for the show. I don't know if there have been any teases for like a new season or anything like that, but given just the reaction that I've been hearing from people, it seems up in the air whether this would get a sequel. It seems pretty split, but it does seem rather popular, so maybe. In any case, this is the last episode. So, we'll see where they decide to wrap up, and then in this reaction video, we'll discuss that, and I'll also go over just wrapping up closing thoughts on the whole show at the end. But first, we gotta watch the episode, so let's do that. We'll have discussion at the end and a beep beep timer at the beginning. There will be picture-in-picture versions of this reaction video with the video up there in the description down there. Timer-based version will be on YouTube. You're watching it right now. It'll have discussion at the end and a beep beep timer at the beginning to sync up with your own version of Shield Hero if that's what you want to do. And that timer will go right here. Looks like we're in the midst of a wave in a sea of blood. Cool. Okay. Or the timeout, right? There's still a timeout, right? That's what saved them from glass last time? No OP? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Where's my nicotine? There it is. Okay. No shit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow, he looks really janky there. Okay. Okay. Cool. He believes in them. Got me. Okay. Cool, and good timing for that. There have been instances where they've timed that weirdly before. So that was cool. Mm. Ooh. That's a new layer. So is there no timer this time? Yeah. Could we talk about what is causing all of this? Hmm. Hmm. A final choice. Yeah. It's not your world. Or it wasn't when you arrived. What? Health. So she's some kind of special caster class that shares a resource bar? Kevin Penkin is going off. Has been this whole episode. And now it's kicking in. Oh, Kevin. Hmm. That's a hell of a potion. Oh, there is a timer. Oh. Ooh. Okay. Explosives? Oh, they're wine. Or just berries. Are you now contact drunk? Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Also pretty awkward. The goodbye, I'll fight you later is a bit weird, but okay. It was mostly now for me though. So what? 10 minutes left. 10 minutes left on the dot. So some cute moments. One emotional moment, and their journey continues. Cute stuff. I didn't even think of that. Green hair girl. We need to grow the harem. Oh, hey. Welcome, new party member. Oh, she got kicked out? Why? Oh, well, then we share that in common. It's probably the dude with the mustache. Hmm. Cool, perfect. We need some cannon fodder. Let's go. True. Mm-hmm. Catchphrase. Yes, he is. Fair enough. Hmm. Hmm. Oh, okay. Keeping a secret from Raftalia. They're holding out on telling us what it is. Is it a wedding? It's not a wedding, right? That'd be weird. That same place? Mmm. Something for the town? Hmm. Okay. All right. Cool. That's a big status up. Yeah. Mmm. Mmm. Cute. Oh, hey, lady. Perfect. Cool. Okay. So he brings his town of familiar faces with him. That's kind of cool. Emotional moment. Hmm. Okay. Hmm. Looks at audience meaningfully. Oh no. Please don't. I'm sure. All right, Kirito. Are you still fucking around? Oh, schemes and plots. Okay. That's it. It's all of Shield Hero. So let's talk about the episode in particular, and then we'll talk about the show as a whole. Episode in particular. First off, just as an episode of the show, pretty okay. I will say that a good portion of the animation felt kind of phoned in. Um, if you know what I mean, there are a lot of these scenes where there are characters standing around static and like zero interest in making them interesting. Um, long static shots like this with faraway characters that don't look great. Uh, like here, and here, and just all over the place. The actual fighting and stuff looks pretty great. There were very few things that made me like, oh no, this isn't good. This tunnel of images and stuff is pretty cool. And we'll talk about plot stuff soon. And then standout moment was when this angle. Choosing to shoot large portions of this scene from this this angle above from Naofumi vision, down at Raftalia, I think is a cool decision. It makes for some interesting and not very easy foreshortening, especially when she does this super emotional outburst here. It's really smooth. I like it. Cool piece of animation. As for like a wrap up to the season, again, now that I've realized what's going on with Lark and the rest, it makes sense to put this at the end, because like the first Glass arrival, it's not really a final fight, but a setup for future battles. And it's like a hint that there's so much more to this world and so much more to explore here. So if you want that, you want the season 2, or you want to go and buy and read the manga or the web novel or the light novel, which is the point. Like, let's be realistic. We live in an imperfect world where art can't be made just for the sake of art. It's made for financial purposes. And this show is absolutely no exception. It is to sell itself and to sell its source material. And so the decision to cut it where they did, I think, is a good decision in terms of selling the source material. And while I thought it was looking like a bad decision in terms of selling the anime itself, making this adaptation a good product in and of itself, I changed my mind on that, and I think it's pretty okay. It hits all the beats for a "and their journey continues" type of ending, reestablishing all of the characters' motivations and their relationships. Raftalia's desire for Naofumi to stay, which, like, it's done almost as though it's a reveal that this has been eating at her, but we know that it's been eating at her this whole time, and she's expressed it repeatedly to Naofumi. So I, like, yeah, it's been eating at her. This is news? I don't think so. So that maybe could have been handled a little bit differently, but that's okay. We cover all of that. We put our characters into their starting positions for the next season or the next set of arcs or whatever. And we're good to go. I do think one cool thing that was done here was, well, now we get to plot stuff. Genuine, like, what do I think is going on, and where do I think this is going, and why do I think that's interesting or not. The idea of the other world full of other heroes who fight for their own world survival against our heroes. I feel like I've seen this before somewhere. I don't know where. It doesn't ring a specific bell, but it rings a bell. I feel like superhero comics group, something like this. I don't know. But it's an interesting concept on its face. And I think it becomes more interesting. Like, the rules for the different heroes seem to be different. We know that on their side, they've got this gem hero, it seems, or vassal. It seems like Teresa is one of them. Maybe she's just a second in command, as Raftalia is to Naofumi. But they've got a scythe and the fans, so they've got different weapons, and they have to go on the offensive. They have to invade. So while all of their homies are back at home fighting a wave off that's attacking them, they, instead of having to just stay there and fight off the waves, they have to go to the other world and fight their heroes. I don't understand it, but it's interesting. It's an interesting concept. And it's a perfect antagonist for Naofumi, because he is a person who has no direct tie to this world and was not born here, was not raised here, and has expressed throughout a good portion of the series a desire to go back, to leave here because it sucks. So then he's forced into a situation where he must fight to protect this world, but then he must fight to protect against people who must fight for the same reason, and he must measure his will, his resolve against theirs. And he decides in that moment that the friendships he's forged and the relationships he's built in this world, despite the way it's treated him, are worth protecting and worth saving, and so he'll fight for them. And I think that's good. I think that's a solid character decision. one that expresses and exemplifies the changes that he's gone through over the course of the show. So I think that's really solid. I think it's quite good. As for the show as a whole, I think I will probably give this show a 6 or a 7, which is a really good score. Um, there's there are a lot of interesting ideas at play here. I feel like this is one of those situations where the creator came up with this idea, this premise, and then did their absolute best to flesh it out. And what they came up with was something pretty darn good, simply because they are pretty talented and the premise is pretty strong. But I think they were a hair short of bringing it to what it could have been. I think that there were a lot of things that could have been done more interestingly with this premise, and I feel like it could have been more fleshed out, more detailed, more vibrant, more interesting. Like the idea of being isekai'd to it's really simple, right? You get isekai'd to a world and the world does not bend over backward for you. This has been done a couple of times in other isekais before, but often one of the big tropes of the isekai is you get there and you get a goddess attached to you, or some kind of awesome super duper party member who, or like super weapons or superpowers or whatever. You're just OP, and everyone in the isekai world, it's a pure power fantasy, right? And this has elements of that power fantasy in that Naofumi is quite powerful, but the outside world doesn't treat him well. People treat Naofumi like shit in this isekai, and that's the polar opposite of what other isekais normally do. That in and of itself is interesting. You throw in a story with strong romantic undertones with Raphtalia, an interesting semi-comic relief side character with Philo, and then you start to flesh out the world that they inhabit. What is this isekai? And that's where I think that this author's creativity faltered slightly. I think it's good enough. And again, I don't want to like discount the fact that I think the author and the creative people who have worked on all stages of this series, from web novel to light novel to the manga and the art that went along with it, to the anime adaptation and the art that goes along with that, are jam-packed with really talented people. Shoutouts once more to Kevin Penkin, whose score in this episode was sexy. Tons of talented people, and obviously the original creator is very talented as well. But in fleshing out this world, it felt like there were a lot of corners cut, and a lot of reliance on like shorthand. So just saying to us, well, it feels like a video game world to all of the other heroes, but not to our hero, lets him be a complete fish out of water so that mechanics can be directly explained when they need to be, but it also lets us just be like, oh, I guess it's just going to function on mostly RPG game mechanics, and we can just expect it to do that, and we don't have to actually establish any of that or delve into it too deeply. Okay. Now, there are interesting twists to that, like the idea of the Curse series, or the external shield things, the glitchy aesthetic that sometimes comes in. I don't know how much of that is described in the original web novel, light novel area of this series, but that's interesting stuff. It's intriguing. It adds an air of mystery to the systems that govern this world, and that's cool. That's good. But then there are other things, like one of the first things we find out about this nation of Melremark when we arrive is that it's a matriarchy, but it essentially relies on feudal shorthand. It works as a standardized feudal town. You would think that completely inverting the gendered binary hierarchy of political and social dominance in a nation would cause some kind of changes to the way that their culture and technology developed. But no, it's just straight feudalism with chattel slavery and lots of serfs and aristocratic elite. Like, it makes sense to our sensibilities, and we can pick up on what's going on in this world really easily because of that, but it's no deep exploration on power structures or social structures, and it doesn't need to be, but I feel like if you're going to make choices like that say, I want this to be social commentary, then you have to go a little bit deeper. And while there is I hesitate to use the word social commentary, even to describe the way that it functions in this show. It's just bad shit happens to Naofumi, and that got blown way out of proportion by alarmists and just like people who write dumb shit on the internet for a living, like me. Hey, woo. Yeah, there's some gender conflict stuff. There's some social commentary stuff that you could read into with like false rape accusations, but it's also so fantastic and so distanced from the realities of the way that things like that occur, and they do, that it doesn't really function as anything on the spectrum of like satire, parody, and commentary, criticism, all that stuff. It just doesn't really resonate with me. Characters, Naofumi is mostly a blank slate. He's kind of a jerk. He's kind of justifiably a jerk because everyone's a jerk to him. He works as a character, but he's rather simple. Raphtalia as a secondary character and love interest is really strong at the start of the series, I thought. I thought that she was a really strong, well, super cute lolly fox girl, or raccoon girl in this case. Super cute, super fun, totally like into her backstory and her initial reasons for aligning herself with Naofumi, first against her will and then because it's her best option, and then growing into a serious relationship with him. Really cool. It doesn't go explicitly romantic, which I think is fine and expected. You just leave the subtext there, and then the relationship works better that way, because fans can fantasize, and people who don't really want that or care about it can just see her as a party member, and it's great. And then we throw some other girls into the harem with Philo, who gives them another fighter and the ability to run around places and stuff. And also an in to talk to Fatoria later, I suppose. So that's interesting. And then there's the whole royal family. Oh, God, and the villains are so bad for so much of this show. Really nursed the quality of the show if the villains made sense. If they made sense, this would make a lot more sense, and the show would be a lot less eye-rolly in the center portion, especially in the midpoint, where all that's going on are like either episodic adventures or we know that she's twirling her non-existent mustache in the background. Not super into that. Not super into that. Some of the supporting cast is pretty fun, like the weapon seller guy, the blacksmith dude. He's pretty cool, and a good stopping point. So is the slave trader guy, although we've only, I think, stopped there twice, 2 or 3 times. As a standalone anime, 25 episodes, I suppose. As a standalone, it is 25, right? I don't want to be stupid. I am stupid, but it is 25. As a standalone show, I think it's got a ton of flaws, and that's why I put it at a 6 or a 7. Probably like a mid 6, like a 6.5. 6.5. It's got a ton of flaws, but it's also got strong points, and I thoroughly enjoyed most of my time spent watching it. Almost every episode, I think I ended with, that was pretty fun. It had a lot of problems, and we'll talk about them, but I had fun watching it. You can't hate a show when you've had fun watching it most of the time. And again, let's shout out Kevin Penkin's soundtrack, because all the way through, from the start to the finish, it was a standout, to the point where I've seen people in my Discord and elsewhere expressing that Kevin Penkin's music is too good for the show, that it's distractingly good, that his soundtrack like beats out the animation for your attention sometimes. And I think they're right, but I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, because good things are good, and his soundtrack I think is really good. There was that section in this episode. Let me find it really quick. I'll cut this. Yeah, so it's Naofumi has this like this vision of his past life and all that stuff, and also a vision of Glass's world being attacked by a wave, and then he sort of bursts back into frame, and there are so many layers to this piece going on. It's nuts. So we got this like we got an organ layer, like church organs at the very bottom of it. And then there's this electronic-y doo-doom, doo-doom, doo-doom. And then it comes into a boom. Boom. Organs are still there. There's a bit of chanting. And then we got this electronic, like I don't even know what to call it. It's just playing a riff. And then just like maybe 20 seconds later, we get this build. Oh my god, Kevin! That's unbelievably hype. Then it all comes together. To one wave of sound, and it's amazing. So, Kevin Penkin, I think that you have a long career ahead of you, making great music for great shows. And I hope that your next show is slightly better than this one. Because while you were able to stand out, I think you stood out a little too much, because the gap between the shit you create and the shit you created it for is a little too wide, bro. And that's a compliment. There's a lot to love about this show, and I think I've loved a lot about it over the course of it. Disliked some things. I think I've liked more things. Cool. Well then, I think I'm going to wrap it up. So, I'd love to hear any thoughts that you have about Tate no Yusha Nariagari. It's been an interesting show. Wednesday already has Bakemonogatari, and then there will be new shows airing this summer, and we'll see what I end up watching from those. But there won't be an immediate replacement pull slot or anything like that for Wednesdays. So this slot will be gone for a little while until it gets filled again. Okay. I don't know what is going to be airing on Wednesdays. I haven't gone through and like looked at everything, but I will. I will check. I will find out, and I will end up watching the first episode of whatever it is for sure, at least, and then potentially quite a bit more. In any case, I've been Teeaboo. This has been Rising of the Shield Hero, episode 25. I hope you've enjoyed it as much or more than I have, and I hope to catch you next week in something else, because there won't be a show slot this next week. And with that, peace.